back on the Build Phase podcast. I guess these videos aren't really considered a podcast, but we have exciting stuff to do today. First things first, I forgot to turn on my lights, so I look like I'm live streaming from a shadowy dungeon, but that is what it is. First things first, I am, as of right now, right there, opening Build Phase League Season 8 to the community. It was open at the beginning of last week, or at the tail end of last week, for patrons only. Now it is open for everybody. So there are going to be some questions, and based on how we've decided to handle this, there will be a follow-up stream where I kind of break all that stuff down. It was my intent to do that stream first thing this morning, but Upper Deck, in true Upper Deck fashion, has oh, look at that. When there's a white background, I don't look like I'm broadcasting from the shadows. So Upper Deck, in true Upper Deck fashion, has revealed something that has to cause me to drop all of my plans for the morning and instead focus on these card reveals. So before I even get into the cards, I want to say up front, Civil War is one of my all-time favorite comic storylines ever. I get that that's like the most cliche thing for a comic book fan to be into. It's everybody's favorite storyline. It's very basic. Like if there was a pumpkin spice latte of the comic book fandom, it would probably be Civil War. Right? Okay, but I don't care. I am unashamed of my absolute love of the story and the characters involved. Before we dig into it, I will say that I hope the first box is just Civil War, and that like issue 2 in the arc, or issue 3 in the arc, the subsequent, the cigarette pack boxes are where we see some support for Civil War 2. Now, I like Civil War 2 as well, but if I have to choose between all Civil War or a little bit of, like, I'll take the all Civil War. I'm not going to complain, but it would be cool to see some of those, particularly like a plot twist that talks about what happens to Rhodey in that storyline would be really cool. Okay, let's get into the cards that we got here. So I had originally predicted that I thought, or well, maybe not predicted, but I had said, what if anti-registration and pro-registration were actually not team affiliations and instead were something else? And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they've been identified as it took a few shots to get that image in the thumbnail, Stacks. I think three tries to get that exact image. So it does say right here that you're going to choose teams, pro-reg or anti-reg. So I don't want to get ahead of myself though, so let's kind of go through this. Oh, one other thing before I start reading the information from the article. We were told, I don't think it was last Wednesday, I think it was the Wednesday before, that Civil War was going to be intended as a jumping off point for new players. And we were told that about Fantastic Battles. It did not ultimately end up being a very good starting point for new players because of how complicated those game mechanics were. And that feedback has been heard by Danny and Ben and has been heard by Upper Deck. And they want this box to actually be a good jumping on point for new players. And we were told on the stream that us seasoned players should not interpret that as being a comment on the power level. That this isn't going to be a flat, low power level box. There's going to be really strong cards in it, but the complexity is going to be reined in. So what that says to me is we should expect more cards like Rogue and Domino and less cards like Wyatt Wingfoot and the Wizard. I specifically bring up Rogue and Domino because the Utopia arc came out in kind of the same period of time, like the same spot in the year, the run up to Gen Con, and often it seems like this is where Upper Deck wants to really release boxes that can capture people's attention and get players excited, which makes all the sense in a world where we have Origins and Gen Cons and PAX and all these conventions. Having new player fishing hooks attached to the product that you release during convention season is kind of a no-brainer. Now, will they be able to follow through on giving us power levels and interactions that are exciting for us old players, or will this end up being like Marvel Battles version 2, where the cards are a good foundation, a good tool to teach new players the game, but maybe not the most competitive? Let's find out. I'm really excited for this, guys. I'm like shaking. This is one of my favorite stories ever. Okay, so we're calling Civil War Battles the best place in the multiverse to learn how to play Versus System 2 PCG. Now, this is in bold. They are going all in on this being how you get new players and how you teach new players how to play the game. And holy smokes, if you're going to like double, triple down on that being the intention of this set, I really hope they deliver on those promises. An excellent set like Fantastic Battles that us seasoned players really love is not gonna cut it if what they're trying to do is grab new players. Like they're gonna have to fulfill this promise or don't make the promise, but they made it. So okay, this entire product, from the iconic Marvel characters in the story to the revamped rule book, is this the big rules rewrite that we've been waiting for like 2 years? Oh dude, okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Wow. The revamped rulebook to the design and development of the cards has all been created with this goal in mind. The cards are simple, but don't worry, they're still powerful, flavorful, and fun! Exclamation point. So if you've been curious about the game, this is the place to start. I like the way all of this sounds, but let's be real. The people who are reading these blog articles are not new players. This is not the avenue where you capture new players are not going to care about card spoilers. Like new players, there's games that I love where I don't follow the spoilers until I can get the cards in my hand. I sure as heck don't care about card spoilers for a game that I haven't gotten into yet. So I appreciate the pitch again, but think about your audience here. You're talking to me. You're not talking to the guy down the street that I haven't converted to Versus yet in this article, I think. But anyway. Already know how to play? Well, then apparently they are talking to me. Look at this. Already know how to play? Well, then this will be the perfect issue to teach other players how to play the game. And don't worry, the sophistication of the cards ramps up with the 55-card Secret Avengers and Thunderbolts issues. I had forgotten that they had already given us the names of the two 55-card sets that fill out the arc. I think we can probably close the door on Civil War 2 being present in this expansion, just based on those card box names, expansion names. These follow-up sets fill out the rosters for the two new teams, as well as allowing new players to glimpse more of what the game is capable of. This sounds really smart. Again, I'm doing a lot of preamble before I get to the actual cards, and we're all here for the cards. But this sounds like exactly what we want. We want Upper Deck to give the experienced players the tools to hand a player a box and say, okay, you can start here. As opposed to, hey, you're going to need to get this, and then here's a flow chart, which Danny's flow chart, by the way, shout out to Danny Privet. That guy is an unsung hero of the Versus community. His work on the Versus database, as well as like the flow chart and kind of single-handedly keeping the Reddit going for years. The guy's a superhero for the game. Doesn't get enough credit. Lost my train of thought because Danny was trying to give Danny some shine, and it shook me so hard I forgot what I was talking about. I am too excited for this card preview, guys. I think this is really smart what they're doing here. This makes us better evangelists for the game. If a new player comes in and you can say, hey, buy this one box, who's your favorite hero? Oh, they're probably featured in this box because Civil War featured everybody. This is a great tool for us to have, particularly if it dovetails well, if it's like an on-ramp to the complexity of Versus. So you get the Civil War box, you get a basic idea how the game works, then you buy that first cigarette pack expansion, and it flows right into it, and the cards that you already have get better. And we don't have things like Wyatt Wingfoot. I love Wyatt Wingfoot, one of my new all-time favorite cards. The more I play with it, the more I like it. But it is not new player friendly. At no point should anybody have thought that Fantastic Battles was going to be new player friendly. It seems like as much as they kind of wanted it to be that way, they heard the criticisms and they've learned from it, at least verbally. I haven't looked at the cards yet, but they're saying all the right things. And that makes me even more excited to look at these cards. Holy smokes. Now on to the cards themselves. This arc features various heroes and villainous hero. This arc features various heroes and villainous heroes featured in the Civil War comic story arc. I like that they specified comic story there. After innocent civilians have been caught in the superhuman crossfire, the government attempts to identify and register all superpowered residents. But not everyone agrees with this plan. Iron Man and Captain America find themselves on opposite sides of the dispute as we come to the ultimate battle over right and wrong, Marvel's Civil War. I really hope we see a Stanford incident card. Like, I liked that card in old verses. I liked the idea of that, like the precipitating event that caused Civil War. For anybody who doesn't know, is there was a reality show style, like C-list team of superheroes that was trying to bust a bunch of supervillains that were like rooming together in a house, not doing anybody any harm. And one of those supervillains, it turned out nefariously, had their powers enhanced, Nitro. And when they were attacked, Nitro did his blow up thing that he does, but his power enhancement was too far from what he knew and ended up killing a whole elementary school full of kids. Want to say on record here, unambiguously, I am not in favor of anything bad happening to kids, but as a plot point in the plot point in the Civil War story, the thing that sent all our heroes down this journey, I would love for that to show up as some kind of a plot twist. Like, play this, KO all characters cost 2 or less. That would be pretty cool. Something to that effect. I'm hoping we get that in this. I mean, more than anything, I'm hoping we get a cool Captain America. Wow. The characters must choose between one of the two teams, pro-reg or anti-reg. So these are team affiliations. Tony Stark is the pro-registration. Are we going to get a cool Iron Man? Yeah, that looks way better than Baron Zemo, doesn't it? And a cool Captain America, although Captain America, like, we knew that. Then, okay, so normally in an issue like this, one team would be good and one would be evil, but the whole point of Civil War is that it's not entirely clear who is right, if anyone. To represent this, and because the vast majority of these teams' rosters are made up with heroes having an honest disagreement, although a few villains throw down too, both teams are good. I bet that this is a post hoc rationalization. I bet we are going to get into this and we are going to find mechanical reasons why they wanted to have two good teams in this box as opposed to doing some. And part of it might be the mechanical justification is it would be confusing for a new player to wait, Captain America is evil? Wait, I get it. That said, in the overall health of the game, we already have more good teams than evil teams. There could be like good versus evil format consequences for this at some point down the future. So that's something to keep an eye on, but I'm not immediately opposed to it other than the trend line of having more and more good teams and the number of, like, if you take all the good cards and stack them, that stack is going to be higher than all of the evil cards. And on a long enough timeline, I do think that's something we should be paying attention to, particularly for formats like good versus evil. Stax makes the point in the chat that the villains could be dual affiliated. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think we're going to see some dual affiliated characters in here. Okay, so the first card, finally, after all of this preamble. First thing I got to do is turn off the slideshow, make sure that we got this on the screen. Okay, Iron Man. No, I turned the slideshow on. I hate this slideshow. It messes me up so many times. Okay, so first off, I love the card art. This is very Civil War-esque card art. I like what's going on here. A little chunk being taken out of Captain. Really? You got hit with a bullet that was strong enough that it took a chunk out of a vibranium, adamantium alloy? Still really like the card art. Let us be doing the right thing. Oh, before the powers. So he's flight and range, 1, 5, 6. I like that we have 6 here on the health. I kind of feel like 6 should have been the new standard, kind of is the new standard. So 5 health characters come out and they really automatically, that's kind of a mark against them in terms of playability. Not all the time, of course, but not never either. So I like the 6 health. I like that Iron Man has flight and range right away, as he should. That's thematically appropriate. Okay, let us be doing the right thing. Main phase, red, power, pay. Put a +1 counter on Iron Man for each other character on your side. I mean, it could be good. You play a swarm deck, like you get a cheap inventor down, you grab a machine, you vomit out all the sentinels, then pay a red, and all of a sudden Iron Man's like a 9 a 9-13 on turn 1 or turn 2, whatever, like early in the game. I mean, obviously not turn 1, I misspoke there, but okay, that power could be useful. I don't, given his leader of the pro registration forces, level up 4 when you recruit a pro registration character, Iron Man gains an XP. So if what you want to do is be leveling him up, I don't think you want to pack your deck full of Sentinels or any of the other swarm characters we already have. I think this power, this level up condition, probably forces him into something like a mid-range build, because you really want to be playing a 1-on-1, a 2-on-2, or potentially, I mean, you play 2 1-drops on turn 2, that's probably okay to get this guy leveled up. Let's see what he gets. So Iron Man level 2, same artwork, which again, I still really like this artwork. Flight range 666, decent stat line. I mean, this is the Luke Cage stat line, only he also has flight and range, so that's even better. He retains the let us be doing the right thing power. So even if you don't have some kind of a swarm build early game where you maximize that level 1 power at level 1, once you get leveled up, you still have it, and you could potentially swing into a late game swarm plan. We don't want to fight you. Main phase yellow. Choose an enemy character and put a -1 counter on it, and it can't attack on its next turn. Wow. That's a big deal. That's a main character who has a built-in freeze, essentially. I mean, yeah, it doesn't freeze them. It just makes them so they can't attack. But how many effects do you have where you have to exhaust your character in this game? Like none. So you're essentially freezing a character for a yellow. Keys has seen play, not always just for that power, but he's seen play. Iceman, freeze is one of those powers that seems we got it on a 1-drop, and it seems like it's not the strongest power, but freeze decides games. That's not flashy. That's not like, ooh, I'm level 2 and I get to do a crazy overpowered thing with Sister Grimm, or I get to snap with Thanos, or I'm rogue shrinking all your guys. Like, this is a little bit toned down from the kind of flashy impact, but this on its own will not win you the game. But forcing your opponent to not be able to attack with their best dude, or I guess since it's the next turn, their second best dude, or their main character. Yeah, this says enemy character. So if you level up fast, if you do have, and I don't know if the curve is going to support this, but if we end up with a pro registration swarm curve, or flood, I should say, because swarm is a keyword in this game. If we end up with a flood style and pro registration deck, so Iron Man can level up soon, imagine him paying this yellow on a level 1 rogue. Like if he plays out 4 guys, like a 1-drop, 2 1-drops on turn 2, and then like, so he levels up on 3, like your rogue might only be level 1 or level 2, and now all of a sudden she can't attack. And with Iron Man play, I mean, yeah, she has flight, so you might still have to deal with her. But this is the idea of what I'm getting at. This could, if you level quickly, this could not only act as combat interaction, this could act as the opponent's disrupting their level up condition. If it's somebody that has to attack, you can shut down their ability to attack. So if you get that burst of an early start, you could just take the game over without actually engaging. That seems pretty good. I mean, I'm not immediately like, oh, the best card I've ever seen, but that seems pretty good. All right, finally, we have a Captain America with artwork that I absolutely love. This artwork is great. Wow. Man, I like this artwork. I guess these were the bullets that eventually put a hole in the shield before Tony took it. Captain America is anti-registration. He's a 2/5/5 with range. Well, 5 health, you know how it is. You just join the resistance. Pay a red, put a +1 counter on each other character on your side. Isn't that? So it's kind of like the same thing Tony does, except instead of being all about Tony getting bigger, this is about Cap supporting the other people. So thematically, that really fits. Like, Steve is the kind of guy to have a power that buoys up the other people on his team rather than using the strengths of the other people on his team to become stronger himself. Like, that fits. I like it. This 2-5-5 stat line is not the most exciting thing in the world. Leader of the anti-registration forces. When you recruit an anti-reg guy, he gains an XP. Okay, so a lot of the same stuff I said about Iron Man. We don't know what the early curve on these guys is going to look like. He could potentially level as early as turn 3, maybe even sooner if they have some kind of like zero cost anti-registration guy or some kind of way to discount somebody. But probably a turn 3, turn 4 level up for this guy, like Iron Man. Captain America level 2 becomes a 5/8/5 with range still. It's kind of funny that he has range. Like, I get, you throw the shield or whatever, but it's I like that they're more willing to put range and fly onto stuff where it's kind of justified. It's just, think about how many like characters we have that have like guns in their hand and they don't have range. But hey, they're learning. Yeah, these do seem like pretty simple powers, but flavorful and good, which is exactly what they said their goal was. So yeah, I agree with you, Stacks. He keeps the red power at level 2. This might hurt. Any combat, pay a green, put 3 -1 counters on each enemy character in melee combat with Captain America. Wow. So with 8 attack at level 2, if you're 8 attack on turn 3, if we assume he can level up on 3 through underdropping on turn 2 or underdropping on turn 3, whatever. We assume Captain America levels on turn 3. 8 attack on turn 3 is a great breakpoint. If you want to be able to put a wound on an 8 defense guy on turn 3, you almost have to commit to some kind of a team attack. And if you're committing to some kind of a team attack, this might hurt gets even more value. So if it's one person attacking, you almost have to have them attacking with like 12 attack in order to make sure you get the stun, right? Because 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so you want to have 12 attack on turn 3 to make sure that you can stun Captain America without getting taken. That feels pretty good. And if they have to commit a team attack, now all of a sudden you pay a green and you're getting 6 -1 counters for the cost of 1 location. That's really good. We look at Might Makes Right. You're paying a whole card plus a green to get 4 +1 counters. Not exactly the same. Latent Mutation probably would have been a better comparison because it's doing -1 counters, but you're paying 2 cards for 4 -1 counters. With this power, you're paying 1 card for 3, or in the case of a team attack, you're paying 1 card for 6. That's great. And that's exactly the kind of power that a new player is going to be able to look at, immediately understand how valuable it is. Maybe not all the nuances. If you're new, you might not be thinking like, oh, the team attack doubles this. And in terms of the costing of it, the way, I'm sitting here breaking it down, comparing it to other cards, a new player doesn't need to do all that to understand the strength of this power. This is great. This is the kind of Captain America I think I'd really like to see. I want to see a Captain America that gets in there, bloodies dudes up, turns sideways, doesn't have to rely on team attacks like the base box Captain America does. This feels good. This feels like Captain America. Okay, so far I'm in. Wow. I'm real happy with all these cards. Oh, hang on. Before I move on to the supporting characters, let's see if there's any. Both main characters care about their new teams in different ways based on their personalities. Yep. Yeah, nailed it. If this right here kind of sums up the design goal that Danny and Ben had for these main characters, 10 out of 10. They nailed those goals. There is an argument, should those have been the goals? Is that exactly what we want out of these characters? And if somebody is of the mind that they have a different opinion on how they would want to see Civil War take, that's fine. You can have that opinion. I think this is great. I think this is really good. This is not so crazy powerful that it is automatically going to run roughshod over the meta. Well, not that I immediately see. This isn't like when I saw Thor and thought, okay, that guy's immediately tier 1. I think these guys are characters that want to play. They want to get down in there and scrap with folks and make stuff happen. And even if you're not the most sophisticated combat mind in versus, you can still see how these cards work. Because this has to be a melee combat, I did not specifically call that out. Ranged team attackers will kind of do some work on Captain America. That's a fair criticism we got in the chat there. I'm still pretty gung-ho on this card. And depending upon the format, if it's a format where there isn't a lot of range, that's not going to be a big drawback. Or where there isn't stuff like match, where there's like automatic, awesome, low-cost range characters, that could be kind of crippling to Captain America, though, in metas where you have like match, Elsa, a ranged curve, like picking him apart the whole time. That's true. So, moving on to the supporting characters. I almost want to skip and do Cap first. I'm going to. All right, so Captain America supporting character. 7 cost. I mean, I get it. He's like the leader of the team. You put your premier guy at the top of your curve, but like, I want to play with Captain America. If I can't play him till turn 7, I guess I have to commit to playing the main character. That's all there is to that. All right, so whoa. So this 7-drop requires a anti-registration main character. So as we probably already knew, there was going to be more than one main character per team in the box. I don't think anybody was of the mind that we were going to get a 200 card set and only get 2 main characters. But in order for this guy to be playable, you have to have a anti-registration main character, which is going to limit his application somewhat. Imagine if Jungle Hunter said, in order to run this guy, you have to have a Predator main character. So Combat Master. On a 10-10-2 Combat Master. I like that. And Leader. Okay, the theme is spot on. Yes, Captain America Leader works. Maybe I should have done the supporting characters first, because I am just a little bit... I don't like the fact that he's a 7 cost, which means I won't be able to play this guy until turn 7. I can only play him in an anti-registration deck. Combat Master with 10-10 is really good. I like that part of the card. And Leader is fine too. But it's... I mean, and you are, in order to play this, you're probably... It seems to me like both of these decks are going to have a real focus on mid-range builds, which makes a lot of sense if these cards are supposed to be targeting people that are new to Versus. What's the best way to start when you're learning a new card game? You play mid-range. You play a 1-drop on turn 1, a 2-drop on turn 2, and so on. As you learn the game, then you figure out where you can cut out the top end and go aggro, or thin the curve and go control. But to start, for new players, to learn the game, mid-range is probably the best way to go. And he fits into that. You're probably going to have guys on board, so Leader will be relevant text. It's just not... This is not as exciting to me as that awesome main character I just got to look at. I was hoping for like a 2-drop Captain America with like 8 hit points so I could play him and then have Captain America the whole game. You know, that'd be awesome. I'm kidding a little bit. Iron Man. Whoops. Wrong button. Okay. Iron Man. Main character. Pro registration. Main character required. Flight and range 612. That's a stat line. 612-2. And he has genius and wealthy. So they've kind of stuck with the idea of parity here, where you've got the Captain America main character and you have the Iron Man main character, and then you have the supporting characters, and they're doing kind of similar things. Not necessarily similar to each other, but similar in as far as the role they seem like they're supposed to be playing. Now, I can tell that we're at the end of the article here, so we're not going to get any other curve, so I have no idea what the actual curves of these decks are going to look like. If these cards are any indication, I think what we're going to see is almost like Marvel Battles version 2. We're seeing a bunch of cards that have very basic, easily understood keywords. Genius on Iron Man, you draw a card at the start of your turn, as long as he's face up. Wealthy, at the start of your turn, you get a recruit point. This thematically fits Iron Man, just like these Captain America powers thematically fit Captain America very well. Combat Master, Leader, this fits the character. They aren't doing anything crazy, out of control, difficult to understand. Given what they stated the goals were for the set, I think they hit the bullseye. Now, as a player who's got half a decade under my belt playing this game, I think about the game a lot. There is not a lot for me to chew on in this reveal article. These cards are, it's very clear what they're intended to do. It's clear how they're intended to do it. And obviously, as they said up front, they wanted cards that were going to be easy to understand for new players, and I think they hit that goal. It does make me, as a seasoned player, kind of want to know, like, see more. I wish we got a little bit of the curve here. I wish we got maybe a plot twist or something in this reveal article. I guess let me look at these wild cards in case there's a surprise on the wild cards. Nope. Typical 4 colors that you would expect for Pro Reg and typical 4 colors that you would expect for Anti-Reg. So we don't have any crazy surprises here, like one of them producing an Earth or something. Man, I don't know. It's hard to be, like, I acknowledge that I feel myself a little bit hungry for a little more. I want a little more to chew on. I've been really excited for the set. Oh, it has been pushed back. We don't know till when, but the 19th release date is not going to be hit. We had that confirmed on an Upper Deck stream and in the Upper Deck Discord. We do not know when the actual release date. Oh, look at this. June. No date, but June. So that answers my question that I had in the that means this box is not going to be legal for Build Phase League Season 8. It's not coming out until after we launch. So that's just all there is to that. A little disappointed there. I was really hoping that this was going to be out for Season 8, but it is what it is. So Shield Safe House, Prison 42, that's whatever. I mean, what were they going to pick? You know, I don't feel like either of these teams has a location that is so crucial and core to who they are, like to who the team is, that I was going to be that invested in what they chose for the wild location. It's whatever. It produces 4 colors. That's all I really care about. The only thing I'm disappointed about here is that there isn't more to chew on. I want more to talk about. I want more cards to look at. As far as the shot over the bow that is Iron Man and Captain America and how they function, I think we can safely assume that Danny and Ben have this well in hand. They gave us a clear roadmap here to what their goals are. And given what we've seen so far, we are on the right track. We are getting cards that satisfy new player friendly, simple but powerful mechanics that are easy to understand. Still something here for existing players to dig into. Not the most complex, but still, I'm not. This isn't like when I first looked at the beginning of the Darkness and Light arc and felt like this expansion arc just isn't for me. I don't feel like that here. Even though they're clearly telling me this isn't really for me, I'm impressed with these cards. I'm happy with them. I think these are going to be a lot of kitchen table fun for sure. Are they going to be impactful in terms of competitive play? These main characters are both way too reliant on their curves to be able to make that determination now. I don't see either of these two 7-drop characters having any kind of a big splash in a general meta of any kind, because much like the main characters, these guys are way tied to their team. If the curve on anti-registration doesn't support you playing Captain America, then it doesn't matter how good Captain America supporting character is, because whatever other main character we get, the curve isn't strong enough to support it. And if this guy comes down on 7 on an otherwise naked board, leader might as well be blank. If Iron Man comes down on 7 on an otherwise naked board, he's not going to be face up for these powers to matter at all. So until we see the rest of the curve, it's really hard to say how big of a tournament impact this set is going to have overall. But just on the basis of knowing what big fans of this storyline a lot of comic book fans are, and therefore a lot of Versus players are, I think I would anticipate seeing these cards, even if they're not the tier 1 deck, I would anticipate seeing both of these main characters show up at competitive events once the set eventually releases, because people like Captain America and Iron Man. So even if these aren't the best decks, I think these main characters are going to see play. Man, the art choices are just great here too. They just both look absolutely fantastic. So, okay. I guess that wraps up the first set of previews that we're getting for the Civil War arc. It says down here that this will be out in June, which means we won't see it on the 19th, which means it won't be legal for Build Phase League Season 8. But that's about the only piece of bad news here. These cards look good. I'm excited for these. So I'm going to stop rambling. Hope everybody has a good rest of the day. I will be back here in a little bit to handle some of the questions that I know are coming for BPL 8. I intended to do that first, but this was more exciting. So, till next time, go win some games.